Minnesota Border Challenge. Is it too loud? Or is it good for you guys? Yeah. I mean, thought we had this all set nicely. Test, 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 test. Tell me about it. Is that about good? So what is the Minnesota Border Challenge? It depends on who you ask. It's anywhere from 270 miles if you read the Water Tribe website. If you ask Siri, and you say, Siri, how far is it from International Falls, Minnesota to Grand Portage, Minnesota? And that's what this is. We're retracing the old Voyager route. They get the furs, they get the International Falls, and then they work their way all the way out to Grand Portage, put them on a boat on Lake Superior, head up to Montreal, and go take the furs back to the old world. We're going to relive that route. They give you 8 days to do it. You do it without modern navigation, or at least we chose to do it without modern navigation. So we don't have any GPS. We have a GPS inReach for the world to track us. And so Doug says, you don't have to answer right away. Now I'm thinking about this. Now Doug's back there. He's my partner. Doug is a world-class athlete. Doug's humble, so I apologize, Doug. Okay, he's not a world-class athlete, but he's done 24-hour rollerblade marathons in the United States and in Europe, so that makes it the world, right? Okay. So, then my other partner is Kevin Wegner. Kevin played football in college. He plays competitive softball, can hit a home run at will, and does triathlons. Now there's me. A bald-headed, gray-bearded, 60-year-old fishhook salesman who doesn't have a gym membership. And I asked Doug, I said, why me? Doug says, well, you know, you paddle pretty good. You can portage pretty good. And you're stupid enough to do it. Yes. So, I thought about it. I got home. Now, the one thing I do is I walk every day. I walk anywhere from 3 miles to 10 miles. I walk with a weighted pack. I walk in the hills. And one day I'm walking, I'm thinking about it, and I think, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. Take your shot. How often do you get a chance to do something like this? You know, the biggest regrets of people on their deathbed isn't what they did, it's what they didn't do. Take your shot. So I'm going to take my shot. Now, the history of the Kruger-Waddell Minnesota Border Challenge. The fur traders have been trying to do this for under 8 days from the 1600s. Sir George Simpson had a team that did it in the late 1800s, and then Vern Kruger and Clint Waddell in 1968 went from International Falls to Grand Portage, and they did it in under 8 days. So somewhere in the mid-2010s, a group called Water Tribe started organizing this and keeping track. So what they did is, a lot of people have done this, and by no means am I saying we're the first ones to do this type of thing. But they organize it, so we all do it on the same weekend. They track us, we have our in-reaches, so we've got people looking over us. And that's when this thing started. Now, how Doug, I, and Kevin chose to do it. We're kind of competitive. So we want to push ourselves. We want to see what we can do. Now, you don't have to do it that way. In fact, I'd advise you probably not to do it that way. We chose to do it without ever stopping the canoe. Now, that meant that if we slept, each night we would each take one rotation, 2 hours in the bottom of the canoe. Oh, I'll get back to this. We would sleep in the bottom of the canoe. So we would go to shore, we'd get down to our skivvies, we had one sleeping bag, one bivy sack, and one pad. One of us would crawl under the thwart, try to wiggle in between the packs, and the other 2 guys would paddle. So we're going to try to get this distance, and you know, I told you it's 270 miles or whatever. if you ask Siri, and I apologize if your phones are going to go off when I say this, but if you ask Siri how far this is from International Falls, Minnesota to Grand Portage, she's going to tell you it's 265 miles. That's about the same distance from Madison to St. Paul. If you ask Siri, she says that's 266 miles. Now, when we do it, I think our stuff of the tracking said we're about 220 miles. What do you see? Now, when I first put this list on here, it was about 4 pages full of all this stuff. So I had to just narrow it down to the coolest stuff. Canoe country is amazing. There's falls, there's portages, there's big lakes, there's small lakes, there's rivers, there's streams, there's really remote areas. Some of my favorite spots, and sure you can read some of those, but the cliffs of Rose Lake. Have any of you ever seen the cliffs of Rose Lake? Aren't they beautiful? You know, I think when I go by those, I think, for those of you that are Lord of the Rings fans, I think of the cliffs of Mordor. You go by them and you're just like, that is so freaking cool. And very few people have seen them, but we're back there seeing them. The other thing I really like, or I hate, I'm not sure, is the scenic overlook over South Powell Lake.
Yep.
Now, South Powell Lake, think of Granddad's Bluff, only out in the middle of nowhere. That's a South Powell Lake. And when you get off of South Powell Lake, you have to take the South Powell Portage to the Pigeon River. When you do that, you've got to climb all the way up there with your pack. And it's at the end of your journey, so you're kind of fatigued. So again, our plan, what are we going to do? We are going to do this without stopping the canoe. We're going to have one sleeping bag, one bivy sack that we share, take turns, and one pad. We prepared our food. We've got spreadsheets, and I'm going to credit Doug with most of the spreadsheets. We can tell you how many calories per ounce in the food, how many calories we need, how many calories we're going to expend, how far we're going to go, where we're going to go, when we're going to go, what side of the lake we're going to go, what clothes we're going to wear, if it's cold, what clothes we're going to wear if it's warm, hot, windy, rainy, or whatever. We've got that all planned. So now I've decided to do this. I've walked. We've got our gear ready. We've got our spreadsheets. And now the rubber meets the road. So when you do this event, it's a long distance. It takes 6 hours to drive from one end to the other on the roads. So you meet in the middle in Ely. It's called the pre-race captain's meeting. Now I've been studying this and I've been reading about these people. There's some really amazing people that have done this. And I get into this pavilion and here's now all of a sudden all these people. Beeve and Kendra and Doug and my other partner Kevin and Pigeon River Dave and people from the guy who just did the Yukon 1000 on a stand-up paddleboard. He's here. He's going to be doing this. We've got the people who have done the Everglades. People that from all over the United States are in this room. And so am I. You talk about imposter syndrome? I'm like, what the heck am I doing here? So we get done with this, and now we go to the start of the challenge. We had a hotel room in International Falls. It was a hotel room for 4 people because there's 3 of us, and we had one of my buddies that was there to help stage canoes and gear and all that kind of stuff. So you want to get a really good night's sleep before an event like this, right? You've done an event like this, right? How much sleep did you get the night before?
About 6 hours.
You were good. I got about 2.5. So I'm already on a sleep deficit. But we get started. And man, when we start, we are ready. We're excited. We're happy. We're smiling. Our eyes are bright. We're ignorant. We don't know what we're going to do. But we are ready to go. Look at it. You can see our teeth in all those smiles. Our eyes are bright. And I'm here to tell you, we don't take many pictures because we don't stop. We're rolling all the time. You either got a paddle in your hand or a pack in your hand. So you don't take many pictures. So what you get today, folks, is what you get. Now we start. And there's all this enthusiasm and excitement. It begins. We start paddling. Now, a little bit of background when we start paddling that morning. Doug had injured his back and his shoulder. And Doug is our stalwart captain. And Kevin and I were talking. My name's Kevin as well. My other partner's name is Kevin. And we were talking, and Doug told us that the way his back and his shoulders felt, if this was probably like a solo event, he may not be doing this. Which was really good. I was so glad to hear that, because guess what happened to me 6.5 weeks before we started this event? After training, by the way, I trained for 1.5 years because we were supposed to do it the previous year, and then COVID hit and the forest fires. So now I've been training for 1.5 years. You know, I'm trying to get this old body ready to go. I went in for emergency appendicitis and hernia surgery 6.5 weeks before this event. Guess what my doctor told me? Don't do it. I got home from the hospital that night after surgery. I was out for how long? I went walking. I didn't go to bed right away. I went for my walk. And about a week later, I started with a 20-pound pack. Then about 3 weeks, I put on a 30-pound pack. And then I went in to see the doctor, and I said, I am going to do this. Tell me what to pay attention to. And then I put on a 35-pound pack, because I knew that's about what my pack would be. Kevin, our other partner, he's our mule. He carries that Minnesota 3 with a rudder on, about a 60-pound canoe. So we get going. And I'm really kind of excited that the one thing in my mind is I don't want to let these guys down. You're no faster than the slowest person on a journey like this. You're no stronger than the weakest person on a journey like this. And I gave you the resumes. I'm not one of the 2 fastest guys. I'm not Legolas and Aragorn, you know. I'm Sam Weiss. I'm the little dude that carries the pack and, you know, tries to keep up. So we get going. The sun is coming up. You saw us smiling. We get out there and we start paddling. Now here's our team. Now this was we did it. I'm talking about the 2022 year. We did it this year too. That's the only picture. Somebody paddled by, and so I got a picture of us in there. I'm the duffer. I'm the guy in the middle. They put the most important guy in the back and the second most important guy in the front. And then they put the guy they try to hide in the middle down there. So what's cool about this, remember how I told you have the GPSs? So the world is following along. They know where you're at. There's people on this water tribe board, and we turn a corner. So when you're doing this, you get kind of, at times, you wonder what you're doing and why you're doing it. In fact, before I get to this next slide, this first day, we're on a lake that we all know pretty well. Well, we, meaning those 2 guys. And we're navigating, we're going along, and pretty soon, hey, there's that red dot. That red dot means we got to turn down here, down this arm of this lake. So we decided to turn down this arm of this lake because we know it. Those guys, they fish it, they know it. Okay, cool. We turn down this arm of this lake, and we're paddling. We're going down. And they said, when we get to the bottom, we're going to see a bunch of reeds. When we see these bunch of reeds, that's where the portage is. We get down to the bottom of this arm, and there's no reeds down there. Well, maybe something happened. Maybe the ice scoured them out or something, right? Right? Well, we take the portage anyways. We get on this portage, and we start going around. There's a big granite rock, I remember. We're going back. It's going to open up to this big lake. We get around this rock. We get back there, and it's a duck pond.
Oh.
It ain't where we supposed to be. So what do? We're not navigating with GPS, so the problem with the modern era is you go to your GPS, right? And you look where the blue dot is, so it tells you where you are. We have no freaking clue where we are. So we gotta go back. So I remember seeing their faces, and the blood just ran out of their faces when they realized. Now I'm the new guy, and I'm like, oh crap. So part of what I realized I can do is I can try to encourage. All right, hey guys, this is no problem. We're gonna do this. We're all right. We're good. So we put on the packs, and we portage back, and then we paddle all the way up the arm back to the main lake. I don't know what that took, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, I don't know. I don't know how long it took. But when you get back to where you started, you're at ground zero minus 3 hours, or 4 hours, or 2 hours, or whatever it is. And then you get going. But you're gonna make mistakes when you do a journey like this. You're going to, and you can't let it beat you down. You gotta try to stay positive. And here's one of the positive things. People were following us, and I believe this is on Lac LaCroix at this time, right, Doug?
No, it's on, that was either Sandpoint.
Or Sandpoint, so right at the end. We come around the corner, and somebody's following us. And they drove their boat up, and I'm telling you what, it just makes you feel so cool. You know, you feel like there's a cheering section out there, even though you can't see them. Now the challenge begins. The challenge has begun, but now more of the challenges begin. With all of this beauty comes challenges when you choose to do it the way we chose to do it. I liken it to a highway on-ramp. You know those clover leaves? I think they tell you they're like 25 miles an hour, 35 miles an hour. And when you had your original old jalopy, you could barely go 25. But when you get your new Tesla, you know you can do it at 65. So you push it, and you can feel them. You can feel when you get to the edge. You can tell when you're going too fast. That's how this journey is. Run a journey like this to your level. Put yourself in position to go at whatever pace you want to go, but you know, people always ask, is this dangerous? No, it's really not. Sitting on my couch eating bonbons, watching Banneter letters, that's dangerous. But seeing how fast I can get on that on-ramp keeps me alive. Gives me something that really I get to strive for. So we get our first night. Now, Doug can tell you that my paddle goes about as fast as my mouth does. Or as slow as my mouth does. So we're getting into the first night, and we see some of the most beautiful northern lights. They were amazing. This doesn't do it justice. They were flashing, they were streaming, they were popping. From 6:30 at night till 6:30 in the morning, even with the moon and the sun starting to come up, you could see them. There wasn't much of a moon that night. The moon was only up half the night. We're going across Lac La Croix this night, and it's time now for Kevin to take the first 2-hour sleep. Kevin's down, he crawled under, and he's in, and we're paddling along, and Doug reminds me, Kevin, you know, let's try to be a little quiet, so the other Kevin can sleep. So when I'm talking, I'm paddling like this. And now I'm slowing down, and I'm kind of lily dipping. That's a technical term. I don't know if any of you guys know that technical term, lily. Have any of you guys ever lily dipped? Yeah, okay. I star in that show. So now, I'm kind of lily dipping. I'm already fatigued from the previous night. We're already into our second night. And I read about this. People that do adventure races or ultra marathons and push their bodies, keep burning calories and don't sleep, have hallucinations. I read the articles. I knew it was going to happen. Hey, boom! A brown Jersey cow pops up in front of the kid. Not a Holstein, but a brown Jersey cow. Okay, I'm not going to tell anybody. This is the first day. I'm not going to tell those guys I'm crazy. We go a little bit further. Boom! A pine tree pops up in front of the canoe. I'm like, son of a buck. I mean, we're in the middle. There's no pine trees out here. And in a rock garden. We're going a little bit further. And all of a sudden, more spooky one happens. You've heard about the sailors say you can't sail out too far, you go out the end of the earth. I'm paddling bow. I saw the end of the earth. I'm paddling bow, and it's done. No way, heck I'm telling those guys that. I'm scared out of my gourd, but I know I got to keep paddling. They could say something if it was really the end of the earth. We keep going. I hope. Maybe they don't. Maybe they're not going to fall off. They got rid of me. Now they go faster. So we get to that spot, and now it's about my time to go down. So we go to shore. Doug keeps paddling. He gives up his turn because he's just our stalwart captain. I get in. Kevin gets out. Get down to my skivvies. I crawl in. Again, you wiggle under the thwart. You get between the packs, and you try to sleep, which you don't do much of. Now it's getting morning, and we're going along this really long lake. There were my hallucinations. We get to this, it's morning,
Basswood.
and as we get to this morning, we're going to get this really long lake, but the first thing you see is Curtain Falls.
Curtain Falls.
Is that not cool? That's why we do this. And it wakes you up. You know, we try to plan where we're going to be. This was coincidence. But you know how blue light, they tell you to keep your TV or your screens down at night? Blue light also helps you in the morning. You want that blue light. You want that glare from the sun. You want that thunderous noise from the falls, the mist. It really woke us up. Now we're going on this long lake, and Doug's going to sleep during the day, so Kevin and I are paddling, And we really want to make up some time. You know, we want to help make sure that we help Doug out. Doug is paddling back, you know, he's hurt. And we're going to keep going because he just keeps digging. So we're going along this long lake, we're paddling, we're making great time. We are really cooking. We get to our first navigational spot, and there's a bunch of islands. I think we go through here. I'm pretty sure we go through here. Kevin tells me, yeah, we go through here. And we run across some of these weekend paddlers. You know, the kind with the rented aluminum canoes, the kitchen sink, the blue tarps? Have you ever seen them out there? Yeah? So we see them, they are lily dipping. We, at this time, are not. Kevin and I keep going, and we get to a spot, and we got to take a right turn. We think we take the right turn. We go down, and all of a sudden, all we see is land. Now, the map says there's a cut through there somewhere. That must be down to the right a little more. So now we're going a little bit further south, and we're paddling along, and hey, Doug, wake up. We need help. You go back to GPS. Oh, that's right. We don't have a GPS. There is no blue little dot. We have to figure out where we are. We kind of analyze the map and we figure out that we must have went too far south. So now we're going to start going a little bit north again. We're going north, and again, I don't know, it's an hour and a half. And guess who we see? The tourists, the lily dippers. We finally get caught back up to them. They were going the same direction we were. We should just follow them. We should have taken a nap and not let Doug know. So you go through that, and now you get to night again. We made it through. Again, but who knows how far now we're off our pace. You get to night again. Now by this night, it's our second night, but it's my third night with not much sleep. And this is kind of what I start seeing. It's pretty much what I see. And the things that you see at night, again, is you see the stars, you see the moon, you see the silhouettes. It's peaceful. It's cool. And I'm paddling. I'm in the middle. All of a sudden, this big seagull starts dive bombing me, and I'm whacking at it with my paddle. And Doug or Kevin, I don't remember which one, says, Kevin, what are you doing? I said, the dang seagull. There's no seagull there. Son of a buck. Now I started telling that, guys, I am having some hallucinations. Okay? We're a little further forward. And I see a bunch of young boys. It's like 3:30 in the morning, folks. They're dressed in like 1920s knickers. And they're in a cemetery, and they're playing hopscotch and leapfrog, jumping over the tombstones. I know there's no cemetery out there. There's no people up there. There's no civilization. I'm like, son of a buck. Doug, I think I actually told you about that one, because then I was kind of getting a little spooked. So now, did we get, there we go. So now we're still traveling. While all this is going on, though, you start understanding the whole traveling by the stars. You see Polaris, because we're always going east. Polaris is not truly in the north. It's kind of over here, and all the stars go like this. And you're following your navigation, your stars and everything. And that is cool. You get your sleep routine. You're starting to get it kind of down. But that third night, we ended up, because we're kind of behind schedule, we ended up on a portage. I think it's called long portage. Now, I'm here to tell you, folks, my sequences could be completely out of whack. Because the second year I did this, I went through a ton of stuff that I don't remember from the first year. Okay? But we're on long portage. Long portage is exactly that. It's long. Kind of hard to find. We're going through it. It's cold. This night it's getting cold. It's down in, 40s, 30s. And all of a sudden we get to the middle of this portage, and it's pitch black out. And there's a beaver pond. And we also hit the dew point. If you hit a dew point, you can't see. You're in a cloud. So at this point in time, we decided the best thing for us to do was lean up against a tree and take a nap. We knew sun was coming up pretty soon. So we did that. I remember waking up, and it was cold. There was ice on some of the little ponds. We didn't have sleeping bags. We didn't have nothing. We had fatigue. Really good fatigue. Very fatigue. And we actually got to the point where we started picking up dry sticks. Because we were cold. We knew we were in a position where we couldn't push it anymore. We had to take care of ourselves. Doug got some fire starting stuff. Kevin and I are trying to find dry branches. And there's not much for dry branches in this area. And while we're looking for dry branches, I kind of looked where that beaver pond was. And I looked beyond it, and it's all in this woods. And I see a little V cut in the top of the trees. So I jumped in the canoe, I knelt down in the middle, and started paddling. Kind of wiggling my way back, made sure I could keep seeing back where we came from. And all of a sudden I see a more substantiated V cut at the top of those trees. And I see some wore out dirt. I go, guys, I found it. I did something for the team. Right? I'm helping out. We go back, we get in the canoe, we start paddling. I think we had to paddle for about an hour before our bodies really started warming up. And I already told you about the hallucinations. Now here's what you see when you're paddling at night. Again, this is what I saw. That's the moon coming up. And that's about what I saw. That's the details of what I saw at certain times. Here's what it looks like when you're portaging at night. I did see a little frog on the path there. This is what it looks like when you're behind the guy in the canoe. You can tell that we're not sprinting, but we're moving right along. And this is what it looks like when you have to change in the canoe. You got to move stuff around. It's amazing all the stuff you have in the canoe. You try to keep it organized, and we're actually pretty good at it. But every now and then, you gotta fix things up. The other thing that you face weather. I welcome the weather. I welcome the storm. I welcome the rain. I welcome the wind. You know what it's like when you're paddling on straight, calm water all the time? Kind of gets boring, doesn't it? And also, when you get some of those waves, you get the ripples. They're fun to paddle on, but some of the big waves, you're alive. There's only one thing you're doing, is every ounce of energy you have is paddling to get through those waves. You're not focused on anything else. You don't know if you just got 3 emails coming in, and you can give a rat's patoot, right? You're just trying to get over that. We've paddled last year up to 96 degrees. In the previous year, we've paddled at least down to freezing. I don't know what it was, but there was ice in the ponds. But you welcome the weather changes. And you make game time decisions before you go on a challenge like this. Heavier raincoats for colder, heavier rain, lighter raincoats for lighter rain, heavier fleece for colder weathers, more sunshades for the hot sun. Again, we've talked about the paddling at Dew Point, and that's what it looks like. It's like you're inside a cloud. You see shoreline silhouettes, and now, this is the 3rd night, 4th night? I don't know. I really don't know. Thank God those guys kept track. We're paddling along, and I remember talking to Kevin, and you can't see hardly anything except the silhouettes. There's some pretty tall hills along the side. And Kevin says, man, it looks like a cityscape, like you can see the buildings. And all of a sudden, boom! It's all Vegas neon lights. That's what it looked like to me. All the silhouettes, all the trees were Vegas neon lights. I specifically saw the Las Vegas cowboy with the cigarette saying, welcome to Vegas. I don't know that I've ever seen that thing in my life. When I got home, I looked it up on the internet. There is such a thing. It was there. If you want to find it, it's on the Pigeon River, okay? That's where it is. Nighttime paddling is beautiful. It's serene. Now, what I do is I try to take some notes, and here's how I take notes.
Here we go. Tomorrow morning, we just got 2 mountains up all. This thing is a beast. There's a huge, I see it overlook behind me. We didn't go up there. There's like 25 stories. And we have a huge mile portage. This area that doesn't get used. Here we go.
So I like to do that, and you know what? It's so cool because when I go back and listen to those later on, it's something I can do while I'm walking. I can talk in my phone, and I can remember what my journey was about. So we go into, we're at this point in time, we've gone quite a ways. We're into North and South Fall. We're going up the South Fall Portage, And that's that scenic overlook, and you're going up, and I remember they were nervous that maybe we're not going the right way, so we were gonna turn around and go back down, but you couldn't even turn, it's so steep. Doug went back down, just checked out the trail to make sure we're right, and then we kept going. On this trail, there were about 150 trees that are 5-inch diameter or more. We didn't count the other ones because there's just no portage maintenance here. We were in some muck up to our knees. We couldn't get around the 180-degree corners because our canoe was too long. You had to go back and forth and push. One guy had to push. Then we get to the Pigeon River, and the water's low. Pigeon River's long. And there's rock gardens. You want to do that in the daylight because if you're walking in a river at night, sometimes it's ankle deep, sometimes it's knee deep, and sometimes it's waist deep. You get waist deep and you're singing soprano. The thing I liked about the rivers though is the sounds, but you also, when you're in the woods, you smell rotting leaves. And at one point in time in the Pigeon River, we knew we couldn't dunk the water and drink from it because you could smell the geese. When you can smell geese, you don't want to drink the water. So as I'm paddling the river, now I'm paddling bow. I'm a river rat. I fished a lot of rivers. So I heeled the canoe, the other guys got out, and I skateboarded the canoe through some of these. We started making a good time. But now it's getting dark. I'm out paddling bow. And while I'm paddling bow, the hallucinations come again. I'm paddling bow, and this time the world doesn't end out there, but the sides of the rivers end. They're just boom. And all of a sudden the river goes down about 20 degrees, and I'm going down and I'm paddling bow. And I'm like, what in the world? And boom, here come the Vegas lights again. So I'm paddling downhill, there's no ends, and there's Vegas lights off the side. We finally make the Grand Portage. Grand Portage is the end. We've made it most of the way. All right, here we go. We're in Grand Portage. Depends upon what you read. It's 8.5, 9.1 mile. It's a portage. It is not a cakewalk. There's some steep hills. There's some boardwalks. And we start going. And I remember we were getting about 20 minutes in. And Kevin, who never has to put the canoe down, says, guys, I need to put the canoe down for a minute. Okay, cool. I remember Doug said, guys, if any of you guys have any Advil, Tylenol, I need them. Now, we don't carry much of that stuff. We don't take stuff like that. I don't think we have any left. We didn't bring that many. We go a little further. It's about another 20 minutes. Kevin's got to put the canoe down again. Another time, about another 10 minutes. And at this point in time, my headlamp goes out. I looked at our notes, or, they track us. So this is somewhere around 1:30 in the morning. We sit down. I remember Doug leans up against a pile of brush. Not the most relaxing place in the world that he was on. Because Doug, while all of us are trying to keep up, Doug made sure he slept the least amount of hours. Now, I slept about 4.5 hours on this journey. They slept less. So, Doug is laying back on this pile of brush and he's out. And Kevin, I can tell he's fatigued because Kevin didn't sleep so good. Kevin has muscles on top of muscles. And you take a guy like that and try to push him under a thwart and paddle in a canoe, it just doesn't work so well. So Kevin's fatigued. And I'm there without a headlamp, and it's pitch black. I gotta find a battery for my headlamp. And I gotta find some aspirin or something for Doug. So I get down to the pack, and I'm digging around in this pack. And it's like digging like this, right? Now I kind of know where everything is. And right before Kevin passed out on the tree, I said, I need a battery for my headlamp. He goes, there's one in my shoe. I'm like, what in the Sam heck is he? Okay, I know I was hallucinating, but all right, let's give it up, right? I'm digging through the pack. I'm trying to find these aspirin or these Advil for Doug. And I'm going through, and I got everything out. And in the bottom, we carry one because we wet shoe this, so we're wet footing. But we carry one set of dry shoes for the trail. In the bottom of the pack were Kevin's wet shoes, and inside was a battery charger for a cell phone when he got done. So he had a battery in his shoe. And I'm like, what in the heck are you? Hey, I could use that to charge my headlamp. I got a USB headlamp. And I plug it in, and the little red light goes to green. I made sure it worked. So now I'm waiting. I want to see if this thing is really going to work. And I found, I don't even know what they were, Advil, Tylenol, they're little blue liquid gel kind of things. Now, I lean up against a tree. I might have slept, I might not. I don't remember. I'm kind of trying to stay awake. I want to see when that red light turns green. That red light turns green. In the meantime, I packed everything back in the pack, and I'd taken everything that we could out of the first pack. Because, quite frankly, we don't carry much more than a sleeping bag, a bivy sack, piece of rainwear, and an extra set of shoes, socks, and underwear. That's it. That's what we did this journey with. And most of the food was gone, so we were down to one pack now. And I woke up Doug and I woke up Kevin, and I said, Doug, I got your pack. Here's some Advil. Cool, right? My headlamp's working. Great. Kevin's up, and Doug goes over the canoe. Now, when Doug and I do fishing trips, most of the time Doug carries the canoe more so than me. Doug goes in the canoe and he goes, no, I just, with my back, I can't pick up the canoe right now. Cool, that's great. Kevin goes to the canoe, and Kevin can't pick up the canoe. Doctor says no more than 20 or 30 pounds. Trust your body. You've been paddling for 3.5 days. My gut's good, I can do this. But I said, guys, let me take the canoe for a little bit. They said, we'll lift it up, just do it for 10 minutes. Just do it for 10 minutes. You know, I don't want to do the fatiguing of lifting it up and put it on my shoulders. So we get it up, we put it on my shoulders. And at this point in time, I know that here's where I can give back. These guys have spent all their energy. They're fatigued. They've dragged me along. I've been lily dipping in the middle of the canoe. I put that canoe up on my shoulder and we start going. We go about 20 minutes, and I check in with Doug's in front of me, and Kevin's behind me. I got about 5 minutes left, right? Okay, it's more than 5 minutes to the end of the portage, but I'll get us there. So we're going along, and I said, Doug, how we doing? We're doing good. Okay, cool. And Kevin, how you doing? We're doing good. I got the canoe. It's about a 60-pound canoe. It's starting to bite on the shoulders a little bit. I said, Doug, you can go a little bit faster. And Doug's saying, no, I really can't. And at that point in time, that's a nice pace. We're doing good. Check with him about another 20 minutes. About another 20 minutes, and Kevin says, hey, as soon as we get to Old 61, that's halfway. We should be there pretty quick. Moving along. So we get to Old 61. It's really cool because now all of a sudden your spirits are getting up. Still the middle of the night. I don't know what time. So we're getting there, and now we go a little bit further, and we get to a boardwalk. Now these aren't New Jersey boardwalks. This is a 2x12 with moss and slippery. And my headlamp goes out. So I'm doing this on about 4.5 hours of sleep with a 60-pound canoe on my shoulder. We get to the end, and the sun starts coming up on the horizon. Thank you, Lord. We go and get to New 61. We go a little bit further, and then we get to the grounds. The Grand Portage has the fort. And the fort is out there, and you come out of the woods, and when you come out of the woods, there's this corner, and there's this lady there with a camera. I'm like, what's a lady with a camera doing here at this time of the morning in the middle of godforsaken nowhere? It's not any of our wives. Hey, maybe we're doing something good. Hey guys, let's go. We got this. My shoulders have almost fallen off. So now we get to that point, and they turn the corner, and there's also Lori, or Grandma, and Beeve. In fact, Beeve just walked in the room. Beeve is who I think is probably one of the best people at this event. And not probably, he is. And we turn around the corner, and they're there to see us. And I'm thinking, we must be doing something all right. We must be doing something cool. So we get going. They talk with us as we're going. You can see the fort up ahead. It's about a 1/4 mile up ahead. And they're talking to Doug. They're talking to Kevin. I remember Lori and Beeve come up to me and they say, who are you? You must be the new Kevin. I'm like, okay, cool, they're talking to me. Apparently on the boards, people follow you on these things. Because my other partner's called Kevin, they must have called me new Kevin. We get there, and here's where we're walking in. There's Grandma, there's Kevin, there's Doug, there's me. Steve, that's the best cameo I've got over there. And we hit the fort. 96 hours in 3 minutes. How many of you are good at math? That's 4 days and 3 minutes, folks. 4 days and 3 minutes. We did it again last year. We improved our navigation. We improved our fitness. We worked on our paddling skills. We worked on our everything. 82 hours and 40, 50 minutes. I forget exactly what it was. Old, bald, gray-bearded, 60-year-old guy sells fish hooks for a living without a gym membership. That's not a dopamine rush there, folks. That's a serotonin rush. Nobody can ever take that away from me. Pretty freaking cool. When you're done, my dad asked me, what do you get when you're done with that? You get these bear tooth necklaces, and you get to sign your name on a red paddle. On this red paddle, it starts with Clint Waddell from 1968. I'm the 37th name on this paddle. What's your red paddle? Thank you.